And we are live, Dawn here with Romance Happy Hour, and guess you can see that Miss Dillon is not here with us today. She had an emergency come up and she couldn't make it, but I am joined by the amazing Mercy. And Mercy, I'm sorry, I forgot your last name. You don't have it on there.
DeSimone.
DeSimone. Okay.
DeSimone. Sorry.
Yes. And I should have asked that to make sure I wasn't going to say that wrong before we got on. Mercy D. Simone and CL Gaber. I did say that wrong again. I'm sorry.
Nope, Gaber, you got it.
um, so Mercy, first off, what ethnicity is your name? Is it like Italian or?
It is basically Junkyard Cat.
Oh,
So
love it.
Mercy DeSimone is a pen name derived from my cats Mercy and Simon.
Oh, I love
Who were
it.
who were both rescues. So it's basically the house of Mercy and Simon. Unfortunately, Simon is no longer with us, but I continue to immortalize him and other friends and pets and families in my stories, and certainly as an ode in my pen name.
I love that. That's the first time I've heard of a pet getting the pen name. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's
And
great. Love it.
actually, Mercy came from the Patricia Briggs books. So
Okay.
Mercy Thompson. So it was, Mercedes Thompson. I love the Patricia Briggs books, and Mercy was actually named after one of those characters. So
Oh,
inadvertently, I named it after a cat and a character anyway.
yeah. And just so our viewers remember, if you are joining us, sometimes you do have to put your name in or give them permission to use your name. We do have a user. It's a Facebook user. Sorry. I know you're probably one of our regulars. Just let us know who you are so I can I can say that out loud. But so CL Gaber, did I
Gaber,
say
you did
that?
you did it.
Okay, okay, yay. Tell us a little bit about you
I'm a
and your name.
I'm a longtime journalist from
Oh,
Chicago, Nevada now, and I cover movies. So I pretty much interviewed every movie star under the sun. And usually, when a movie's based on a book, they would also bring the book author in to do interviews for a day. And I just was always so fascinated with the authors. And as a lifelong journalist, I started writing my own books maybe about 7, 8 years ago, which has been just so much fun.
oh, that's awesome. So I know, knowing you, from the past, from a mutual acquaintance of ours, Sarah, who I'm hoping will join us today. Um, You have interviewed some pretty awesome people. So, are you allowed to talk about some of the famous people you've interviewed?
Sure. It's actually a great month with Chris Evans. Captain America has such a good Apple Plus TV show coming out, you guys, called Ghosted. Really fun rom com coming up. And everyone, I mean, everyone has to do interviews for their movies. Everybody from J Lo, the Avenger there's ever been, to I actually even interviewed George Foreman yesterday because he has a
Oh,
movie
cool.
coming out. What a cool, sweet guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, who is your favorite interviewee so far?
My favorite one that's so hard, but I am kind of old school. I mean, I've had the chance to interview people like Clint Eastwood and Walter Matthau
Ooh.
over the years, and even James Gardner, who was in the Rockford Files. So my favorites were like Jack Lemmon. Although I got to say, half an hour with Adam Sandler is time well spent, and of course, the beautiful Robin Williams was maybe my all-time favorite. So like
Oh,
your own comedy concert, which we all
Yeah.
watch.
So, is it like a telephone over the phone kind of thing, or do you get to meet them in person and like interview them in
Yeah,
person?
many years we have gone mostly in LA. Sometimes they take you to New York, but yeah, they do interviews for like days and days before their projects come out. So you have your like 15 minutes with them, 20 minutes, and then the next journalist and the next one. Honestly, I don't know how they do it. It's a long, long day for them, but it's really fun. And one of my favorites too is Harrison Ford. I don't know if I
Oh,
watching 1923, but you definitely should be. Great, great show.
yeah. Oh, awesome. I have not seen 1923, but I did have some background work in Yellowstone, the regular
Did you?
Yellowstone series. Yeah, I've done a couple and I'm hoping to do some more this summer, so we'll see if they take me on for this summer's the
Let's
last couple things.
film it summertime.
And the rumor is that Matthew McConaughey is coming into town, and we have about 700 people in town. So I'm fingers crossed I can run into Matthew McConaughey. I'm just saying, like,
That's so cool. Plus, you will know like,
yeah.
how it's going to work out. Is Kevin Costner going to be back? Is Matthew
Oh
McConaughey?
yeah.
And I did interview Rip and Beth from
Oh, did you?
yeah, Rip said the F word so many times it was funny, but when I went to write it, I thought my editor is never going to go for this because he was like Rip in real life.
Yeah. I carry around Pride and Prejudice because if I ever run across Kelly, I 100% want her to sign my Pride and Prejudice book because she was Caroline Bingley.
Right, she's a great.
And so I'm like, screw Beth. Like, I want Caroline Bingley. I mean, I'm an author, you know.
And Kevin Costner and I go all the way back to.
Oh,
I interviewed him back when he did Bull. What was it? Bill Durham. Bill. I can't think of it for a second.
Bull Durham.
But Bull Durham. It was a baseball movie and Waterworld and The Postman and Dances
yeah.
with. So I've sort of seen him grow up over the years, but always a nice guy.
Yeah. I did a scene with him in the governor's speech scene. I was in that. And he was just so amazing. Like, seriously, you could tell that his staff just adored him. And I watched him on stage. Like, he would sit there and like get into character. But anytime one of his female staff members would come to get on stage, he would go over there and help them on. I'm like, what a freaking gentleman,
What
like
a guy.
you could just tell everybody just loved him. So yeah, it was a great day that watching Kevin Costner in person. But
Well, the rumors are he might not come back, but I think he's going to come back.
well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of rumors floating around here too. I think Matthew is coming from what the community here says.
Cool.
I know I'm pretty sure Rip's going to be back, and I know Casey or what's his name? What's his in real name? He has some property here. I'm also a realtor, so I get the inside scoop on the famous people living in town.
I love it. So I Neck of the Woods once. They had a movie with Meryl Streep called The River Wild, and they took the entire press corps to Denali National Park and put rafts. And these are not athletic people. We were thinking we were going to lose half the press corps, but somehow we made it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I did a scene with Rip too, and then but he was just riding a horse from far off. He
Right.
had like one line in the scene that I did with him, but
Oh, cool.
and then Jamie, I did a scene with Jamie Dutton as well. Or yeah.
I'll give you guys more Yellowstone tip. I interviewed Jamie too, and he said it's hard to go to the train station now to take people to the quote unquote train station because the tourists know where the train station is. So, that's the place where they dump the body over the cliff.
Yeah.
There's always people there now honking and yelling, "Yay, train station!" Which is no way really to throw the body over the cliff.
Oh, that's funny because I was camping this summer, and I was on my way back, and I saw some road workers fixing a sign at the side of this road because where I live, we're in Montana, so we're like wilds,
Right.
where I go camping and hunting. I look in my rearview mirror and it said "Welcome to Wyoming," and I'm like, "Oh."
Oh no, that's the train.
I'm like, "Oh, I guess we're in Wyoming."
And there's dead fake bodies of by right by the side.
Yeah, it was quite fun. So let's hear a little bit about what you ladies are working on. Mercy, we'll start with you. What are you guys working on? What are you giving away? And just anything else you want to tell us about you.
I'm working on some follow-ups to Corsets and Quartets. That's what I'm reading tonight. And this is a contemporary Why Choose romance. It's a little bit of it's contemporary, but it has a little bit of basis in historical. It's basically a historical romance writer. You know, it says Josie is a struggling 40-something curvy girl stuck in a dead-end retail job. You know, her dream is to be the next Jane Austen. And what happens when you finally chase your dream and give up the thoughts of marriage and childhood only to have three men stumble into your life and shake
Oh,
everything up.
man. I
But it is a fluffy, curvy girl romance. And yeah, I just binge watched like all 6 seasons of Downton Abbey because because there's also a story within a story. So within this story, Josie is writing her own historical romance. So you get bits and pieces of that. So people are always asking me, what happened to that book? Are you going to write Josie's book? So
yeah.
I do have a couple chapters in on that. Also, Josie's best friend in the book, Emma. This book is really, while it's a love story and it is a romance, it's a non-traditional romance outside of Why Choose because it's all also about how important our friends are to us when romantic love isn't in the picture. You know, so her best friend Emma is kind of the mirror you can't escape, the reality check. She's got a big part in the book, and people are really asking for Emma's book as well. So I'm chapters into that book also, and I've been dabbling in some sci-fi.
Oh,
So
fun.
I'm a little all over the place. You know, as an indie writer, we always say, "Are you really an indie writer if you don't have at least 10 WIPs in progress?"
Yeah.
So I'm a little all over the place, but I really love the bones of this story. I love the way it resonates. You know, I think people were ready for older characters. Certainly, people are asking for curvy girls. We see more and more stories coming out now, you know, representing a little more of that less perfect
Yeah.
body type and having some empowerment. And yes, we all have insecurities, but they don't want a book of somebody, you know, sad faced over their body. They want somebody that feels somewhat empowered, um, and really doesn't care at this stage what others think about them. They're standing in their best place or trying to live their best life. Although, you know, again, we all have our insecurities. I tend to write perfectly imperfect characters.
I love that. And I love that you're writing a historical romance author. I do historical romance myself. So what is she Regency? What kind of historical romance does she write?
So it's she really wants to write Regency. It's
Uh-huh.
implied that it's a Regency romance. I'm a little scared to write this book because I know Regency romance readers tend to be very exact on the details. I mean, I cut my teeth on Georgette Heyer and Jude Devereaux and
Yeah.
reading a lot of those authors. So, you know, it's a little bit of I don't want to say a slog, but you know, I'm trying to get it right. And there's a lot of research that goes into getting something right when it comes to writing Regency
Oh yeah.
romance.
Oh yeah, I won't even touch it. Like I do American historical because I grew up, in the country of Montana and I love cowboys. I love cowboy books and I mean, I think with the American at least how I grew up, it's very similar still to how, we were back then. Same phrases and a lot of the same traditions and stuff like that as our ancestors had. So I found it easier to do American historical, but man, I think if I could write in a genre that wasn't contemporary or American historical, it would be Regency. But I wouldn't even I can't even imagine trying because I would just piss somebody off. I mean, I said a bad word, but
Well, that's
so,
it.
so bad.
You're wondering how much leeway are readers going
Yeah.
to give you, and it really is a dance. And I don't want to get it wrong. I
Mhm.
want to honor the characters. I want to get it right for the readers, but it is a little daunting.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's a lot of fun and a lot of daunting, yeah. So do you do a lot of research then?
I do, you know, if you've ever done the Becca Syme courses and done Strength Finders or whatever, I am very high on input. So I do get distracted easily. I start to research and then I go down the rabbit hole. I wrote a book, a P&R. It's actually a menage, this past season, a Halloween one, and it's about zombies. But there
Uh-huh.
was this whole thing. I created a government agency that has oversight over zombies, basically because they tried way back in history. People didn't realize somebody tried to raise Napoleon from the dead and
Ugh.
recreate a zombie army. But then, of course, I had to figure out, well, when did Napoleon die? When was he deposed the first time? I know he went to Elba, and then he went to another island. I think it was St. Helena, where he actually died. So then I had to figure out the timing and where the body was
Yeah.
really buried.
Oh
So
gosh.
sometimes you do have to get certain pieces right. But the beauty of writing fiction is that you should be able to create worlds without too much restraint. Of
Yeah.
course, it's a little easier in fantasy than it is in contemporary. In
Yeah.
contemporary, it's a little harder to stretch the boundaries.
I was gonna say, like, I do also do paranormal with Lexa Jade, my under the pen name Lexa Jade, and I love those because when I write Lexa, I can just like make it up, because it's my own world, and I don't have to worry about the truths behind it because I can just make it my own truth, and then my readers, will know my truth from there. But yeah, with historical and even contemporary, you know, there's been so many times that people have, or I've corrected authors, or authors have corrected me because they have like a better, deeper knowledge of me, even though I've done research on it. So there's always that, always that.
Right. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I do say it is fiction.
It's
You have
fiction.
to go into it with a little sense of wonder and discovery.
And doing as much research as I do for writing historical, I mean, real life can't even, I don't even think fiction can make up things that happen in real life. Like
No.
there's some crazy things that have happened in real
Truth
life
is
history.
definitely stranger than fiction
Yeah,
most
for
times.
real. Yep. All right. And so what about you, CL or Cindy?
Well, I am doing, Ascender 6, where it's about an afterlife realm for people who've died young. So I'm on book 6, and they do a lot of time travel adventures. So I know what you guys mean about the research, because they go to a lot of loosely known historical situations, stuff that's not the most popular. But it's great. I love doing the research. But you're right, you can completely spend days just on a few little things, but that's been fun. And then I did write a romance that's going to come out next year, based at my daughter's college. She's going to kill me,
Oh,
but based at my daughter's college, and it was really fun to step away from the paranormal for a little bit and just try. Nobody has powers, nobody has anything. It's just a straight on romance, and
yeah.
with a little small town that they all live in. So that was a lot of fun. And then I'm almost done with a sequel to the Claires, and the Claires are Ascenders characters. They're 4 quadruplets, mean girls who live in the Ascenders world, and they each have different clairvoyant type of powers. So
Okay.
one's clairvoyant, she sees the future. One's claircognizant, she's all knowing. One's clairsentient, she absorbs your feelings. And one's clairaudient, and she can hear spirits. So they're a lot of fun, kind of bad girls, but they're trying to find some redemption. So their second adventure should come out probably this fall sometime.
Oh, how fun. And I see you have your book there. Can we see your book cover?
Yes, this is my book. This is from Ascenders 1, and kind of the nice eerie cover. And yeah, it's about a young girl, Walker, who's 17, gets in a horrific car crash with her mom, wakes up in a new house, brand new town. It looks a lot like the UP of Michigan, and everything's nicer in it, and some of her old stuff's there. She finds out the next day she must attend a new high school, and that's where they sort of lower the boom that she died last night. And it's a place for people who were that announcement in their high school. Where would all that hope and potential and dreams, where would it go if you died before you were 25?
Wow.
People will agree your mind doesn't fully form till you're 25.
Yeah.
So they have to go back to high school, and the weird thing in the afterlife is nothing's changed. It's still the cliques, and it's the cheerleaders, and it's the bad guys, and everything's pretty much the same, except this high school, the dead teachers who choose to teach there are all famous people who passed and all famous people I interviewed over the years. So the things they say about life are things I took from our old interview tapes. So everyone's in there, from like Heath Ledger, Robin Williams to Walter Payton, the football great. So it's kind of a who's who of the dead people. And my favorite thing is when I get readers go, I know who Bob is, and Bob is really anybody famous. I'm like, no, he's just a guy in the school. They're like, no, you're lying to us. He's really a famous one. But
Yeah.
they have to, the one thing they're not allowed to do though is fall in love, because you don't know how long you're going to be there, and you're never allowed to go back and check on your former life because you'll be hunted by demons. So main guy Daniel, he has to go back. His little brother's stuck at the site of their plane crash, and Walker, the main character, wants to go back to say goodbye to her mom. So they do cross back over, and then all kinds of bad. And they decide to start doing a little bit of time traveling after that to solve an ancient mystery. So then it becomes like a big super adventure.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
Thank you. That's right.
With this, I think we should hear, I think Mercy, you agreed to go first. And then Cindy is going to go second. So Mercy, I'm going to pop you up here. You'll be by yourself. You'll do great. We'll see you here in a couple minutes.
Hey, so this is a scene between Josie and Heath, and it is kind of a morning after scene, the first time that they have spent the night together, and I promised to keep this very clean. So this is Josie and Heath from Corsets and Quartets. Something's wrong. I can't put my finger on what's making me so uneasy, except to say that I don't feel like myself. My body feels constrained as I struggle to take a deep breath. My chest squeezed uncomfortably, my neck at an awkward angle. The woolly fabric under my cheek alerts me to the fact that something more is amiss. The scratchy surface irritating skin that feels unusually hot, not just flushed from sleep. Dragging my heavy eyelids open, I squint into the morning light and groan at the incessant pounding of my head and the fuzzy film unpleasantly coating my teeth. My eyes drift across the living room to the kitchen where Heath sits, Daisy perched on the tabletop, gratuitously forcing her head under and around the fingers that scratch at her ears and chin. I'm momentarily confused as I try to remember why Heath is in my kitchen while I have apparently been asleep on my couch, my wool throw smothering me in unwanted heat. Hey, sleepyhead, about time you woke up. I thought I was going to have to leave you a note. Why is he shouting at me? Isn't he afraid the neighbors will hear? My voice cracks, a dry cough barking from my throat as I struggle to sit up. Why are you here? I whisper, running my hand through the snarls of my hair, matted on one side from rubbing against the rough surface of the sofa cushions. It didn't seem polite to just leave money on the nightstand and leave. Again with the shouting! Surely it's a talent to shout and yet sound so dry at the same time. Wait, what? Did you just say? The loud laughter is too much for my poor ears as I cup my hands protectively around them, rocking slightly where I sit, eyes squeezed shut against the glare. Only the soft hand on my head ceases my motion as a glass of water is thrust toward me, and a second palm unfurls to offer 2 ibuprofen. Thank you, I croak, sipping at the water, my parched throat finally relaxing as the glorious wetness is gulped until the glass is empty. What happened? No, don't shout it. Just let me think for a moment. Flashes of images begin to filter into my consciousness. Food, wine, bantering with Mark, wine, Heath's return, wine, bantering with Heath and Mark, wine. My mind rebels at the acid bubbling in my stomach, no doubt pickling all my organs to be exhumed in a preserved state 100 years from now after I'm long dead. I knew there was a reason I wanted to be cremated. Okay, there was a car ride. We came home. I smacked his nose. My eyes fly open to stare at Heath, who realizes the exact moment that I remember our activities together. The self-satisfied grin annoys me. Why do men always want to pat themselves on the shoulder after sex? I swear they'd fist bump themselves if they could. Although it was pretty great from what little I remember. The look of concern that suddenly mirrors my own endears him more than anything else could at this moment. Do I need to apologize? Shoot, I didn't mean to cause that note of uncertainty in his voice. Well, next time, try to cut me off a little sooner so I can remember enjoying the experience, will you? Trust me, you did. His look of relief would be comical if I didn't feel like dying at that moment. I'm sure I did, I assure him, but knowing and remembering are two different things. Strong hands begin to massage the base of my neck as I twist my head left, then right, and back again until the sound of a loud crack makes us both wince. Ouch! I can't believe I'm that sore from just sleeping on the sofa. It never bothers me to nap there. I'm not proud of my whining tone. Well, you're usually not crushed against another person when you do it, he says reasonably, before adding what he really wants to know. Are you? Definitely not. Did you manage to sleep at all? And what time is it? Don't you need to be at the clinic? It's 10 a.m. I slept for a few hours, and I was supposed to be at the clinic at 8:30. A tired smile floats in my vision. I was trying to wait until you woke up to make sure you were okay, but I was getting ready to leave you a note. Dr. Carson's a good guy, but his bedside manner leaves something to be desired. If I don't get there soon, the vet techs will riot. Stroking my hair, he lifts my chin lightly to press a soft kiss against my lips. Besides, I didn't want to leave without kissing you good morning. How does he do that? I smile against his lips as he kisses me quickly again. What are you going to do today? You're not working, right? No, I sigh, glancing at my laptop and my notes strewn across my desk. I really need to write today. I'm so far behind. Some days I think I'll never catch up. Write? What are you writing? Are you taking a class? I begin to shake my head and immediately think better of it as a piercing pain stabs behind my left eye. Can drinking cause a brain hemorrhage? Because I'm certain I just burst a blood vessel as I cup a hand protectively over my eye. No, I'm writing a Regency romance. Kind of a more modern spin on something Jane Austen might write. I should be flattered by the curiosity, but instead it just makes me feel worse because now I have to tell him the hard part. It's not going well. My other books did okay. I pick up a few dollars here and there, but it actually costs me more to write and market than I earn. I give my laptop the evil eye. Today, it is the enemy. Really, I don't know why I'm even trying anymore. If I haven't made it happen by now, the chance of it taking off are slim. I just don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Everyone else makes it look so easy. What does your publisher say? I'm touched by his interest and at the same time mortified I ever mentioned it. I don't have a publisher. I'm not big enough for that. I self-publish. There's actually a lot of people that do it successfully. I trail off, the obvious conclusion to that sentence being, I just don't happen to be one of them. Still, I'm marginally cheered by the spark of interest in his eyes, until he speaks. Can I read it? No, God, no. Why did I ever open my mouth? You don't want to do that. I'm sure Regency romance isn't your preferred genre, although it's really sweet of you to ask. Hey, don't you need to be at work? Don't deflect. I do, and I will. But why can't I read it? I'll even buy it and let you make a few dollars off it. His shoulder bumps mine in solidarity as I choke back a laugh. That's really funny. I only make about $1 off every book I sell, so I'd make out better if you bought me breakfast. The thought of food reminds me of Mark and all of the confusing banter last night. You really should go. I need to get cleaned up and at least make a pretense of getting some words on the page. What's not working for you? I should have never opened this can of worms. As a fellow book lover, it's logical that he would be curious. I can tell the idea intrigues him, and he's going to keep pushing until I spill it all. Honestly, I don't know. Emma claims it's because I refuse to write racier scenes. She thinks every book should be full out raw sex. I like writing relationships. Jane Austen, Charlotte Bronte, their stories were about the characters' emotions and how they dealt with society. They didn't use sex as a crutch. I don't want my books to be valued by the number of orgasms the main character gets. It just feels cheap. But no, we are not discussing this. Pushing him forcibly off the couch, I stand as well, wincing at the pain in my lower back. I must really have been curled up awkwardly to feel that bad. Like muscle memory, I suddenly remember Heath's fingers and what eventually came after. Oh, I gasp, looking at him mutely as he grins. That's what you said last night, too. A quick kiss drops on the bridge of my nose before he turns towards the door. I'll call you later. Take a real nap. Your mind will be clearer with some good sleep. And if you do want to write a sex scene and need to do some research, just yell. And then we have a quick transition, and I'll give you just a little bit of the aftermath. It's moments like these when you wonder at what point your life shifted so subtly that things look the same on the outside, but have completely rearranged themselves on a subconscious level. In another time and place, I would have been mortified to wake up to Heath sitting at my table while I slept. I would have obsessed over bad breath and messy hair and not looking young and fresh and dewy like a sacrificial virgin just released to the masses of the marriage market. Apparently, I've come to terms with the idea that I am not perfect. Whether that thought should make me laugh or cry is the crux of my problem. I no longer know what I'm supposed to feel, which could be why I don't allow myself to feel much at all. I've clung to the concept of perception, of perfection as something attainable, when I know it doesn't exist. It's the ultimate self sabotage. After 42 years, you would think I'd know better, and I do. It's just that up until this point, I've stubbornly refused to settle. It's easier to pretend not to know. Trailing my hand along the edge of the sofa, I stare at the imprint of my head in the cushions and realize Heath's head was right there as well. There was no discussion of expectations or some manufactured significance to him being here, other than he's a divorced dad who, for some mysterious reason, likes me. The soft meow sounds like approval as Daisy jumps to the back of the couch, prancing along the edge like a gymnast on a balance beam, before curling up in a ball where Heath and I slept. The little Jezebel. Not only did she not give Heath a hard time, it's almost as if she wants to be near the memory of him. If I'm honest, so do I. I'd like to see what it would feel like to curl up together and lazily explore each other. Although stretching my neck and shoulders again, I recognize that I wouldn't mind experiencing it from the comfort of my bed next time. It's nice to feel confident that there will be a next time, I muse, stepping into the bathroom to turn on the shower, then reeling away from the mirror in horror. Holy heck! Peeking back at the mirror, I barely recognize the red-rimmed eyes smeared with mascara, the snarled hair, and the red line across my jaw and cheek where the cushioned seam left its mark. The thunk of my head hitting the mirror sends stabbing pain behind my eyes once more. The only consolation is that Heath was the only one to see me. Thank God Mark didn't get a glimpse of the freak show. Although why I should care what Mark thinks is a mystery. Yeah, maybe I haven't come as far as I think. Spinning away from the mirror, I step quickly into the shower, hoping to cleanse my soul of the fantasy of Mark too.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I feel like we're soul sisters, me and your heroine. Like she is exactly me when I'm trying to write. Like I don't
She's
want
a
to do.
little bit of all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to do those love stories. I like to say I write soulmates is what I do. I just don't like that too, but like writing just I'm so bad at it. And I just do alphas too. I'm really not so good at betas. So that
I think
that leaves
that's
me I was going to
That's why
ask
so
you.
many people like why choose romances because they get a little bit of everything. You get an alpha, you get a beta,
Yeah,
you
you
get the
can choose.
nerdy but caring guy, you get the one that's a little bit of a jerk, you get the one that's the alpha that's going to take care of everything. You get the smorgasbord of guys all just for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Do you write more alphas or more betas?
Because I've been writing Menage and Why Choose, I pretty much always write both.
Mm,
Where there's one, there's going to be another. But if it is going strictly male female, I think I write them definitely more on the alpha side. I think that's a little more of the universal fantasy for more people. And, we want our heroes to be heroic.
mm-hmm. I had another question in my mind, but I lost it when I was reading the comments to the side. So let's go. We're gonna go into Deanna. Deanna had a question earlier, and I think this is more for CL, but let's see. Oh yeah. Um, where do you get your ideas from for such a trope? The such a trope part made me think.
Sure. Thanks,
Yeah.
Deanna, for the question. I never believed this when I heard it in interviews, but I actually had a dream that became Ascenders. And I was out of town with my husband, and I had this weird dream. And I got up in the middle of the night in a hotel and knew where the notepads were and went in the bathroom for several hours and wrote down everything I could remember. And it sort of just came to that. And so that was like a major inspiration. And I've had so many authors tell me that over the years. And I was like, oh, and it actually happened, which was so odd and so amazing at the same time.
One time I had a dream, and in my dream, I literally thought, wow, I have to wake up and write this down because this is going to be the best book. And then I woke up the next morning and I was remembering it, and I thought, what the hell was I thinking in my dream? That is the worst book that could ever, ever possibly happen. So, like the fact that you woke up in the middle of the night and it was a good idea was awesome because I never.
I don't want to wake anybody up. So I took my computer there, but it wasn't a place to type because you're
Yeah.
the toilet. So, it was easier just to sit on top of the toilet with a pen and do it the old fashioned way. So,
Nice.
but I kept going and going. And I was like, this is so bizarre. But I fall back asleep. I'll never remember it.
Yeah. That's awesome. And what about you, Mercy? Where do you get your ideas from your trope? And I'm going to add to that. Have you also ever woken up in the middle of the night with an idea and written it down?
Well, it's funny that you talk about dreams because in corsets and quartets, a good portion of the chapters start with a dream. She
Okay.
gets a lot of her stories from dreams, and I've always been that way. I say that in the dreams, my subconscious works out all of my angst.
Yeah.
So dreams are always big for me. They do bring ideas, and I'll never forget many moons ago in a different job, I had a dream once. We were doing a special event in a ballroom, and there were all of these beautiful crystal chandeliers. And the dream was that the chandeliers all exploded in the middle of the ballroom, and glass came down and cut everybody to ribbon. And I remember waking up and thinking, ooh, okay, your subconscious is trying to tell you something there. So dreams are big for me, and I think you'll find that I incorporate them a lot within my stories, trying to tell some of that subtext of what's going on in the character's mind that they don't realize is going on in their head.
I love that. I love that for foreshadowing or like, anything you can do for plot wise. We did have one question for you, Mercy, real quick. What was the title of your book again?
It is Corsets and Quartets.
And hang on, I'm going to put you up there so we can see it bigger. Let's see. Let's see if I can put you up there. Hang on.
There you go.
There
Oh,
we go.
sorry, getting it. I know it's probably backwards for you though. It's Corsets and Quartets. It is in Kindle Unlimited, so you can pick it up as an ebook, or it's paperback. It is almost 500 pages,
Wow.
so she's a thick one in more ways than one.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Love the double entendre. I don't even think I said that right, but okay. Okay, so I did form some questions of my own. throughout throughout the reading. And actually, let me ask Sarah's first here because she just popped one up. Do you have a group, Mercy?
I do have a group, Sarah. I have a private Facebook group. It is a closed group because obviously some of this content is 18 plus, and it's called the Merciverse.
Okay, and what about you, CL?
I do. We have a group called Ascenders Nation on Facebook. So please join us, and we do lots of freebies. And then I'm always on Instagram. So you'll hear about Ascenders news and see a lot of cute pictures of my dogs.
And cat
Awesome.
memes. Yes, mine is usually cat memes. You'll get book stuff and cat memes.
Okay, so I mean, this raises the question, and I think we just got the answer: dog or cat person. I'm saying Mercy is cat and CL is
I
a
love
dog
them all.
person.
I just
Okay.
love pets. I love
Yeah.
pets. And actually, in the book, in Corsets and Quartets, Heath is a veterinarian.
Oh,
So
fun.
animals always play a big part in the books. There's Daisy is her snooty cat. Brutus is Big White Pyrenees of one of the other guys. You'll always find animals in my books.
Love it.
Yeah, I do. I'm a dog person only because I'm allergic to cats. I love them, but I'm allergic. But yeah, I put the names of some of my dogs in the books, and in the centers, she thinks she's being followed by a creepy monster. It's actually one of her past dogs. So people really like that because the dog finds her in the woods.
Love it. And then Deanna, and I think this is for you, Mercy, is that a reverse harem?
Corsets and Quartets is a reverse harem. So right now
Okay.
I have this one. I have another one. The first one, which was a co-write. I have a Menage. The Halloween book is a Menage book. So yes, I tend to write reverse harem. Why choose whichever term you're comfortable with.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. I'm actually going to save my questions. I hope we'll be able to get to them. For the viewers, post your questions in the comments. We're going to hear from CL Gaber now. I said that right again or wrong?
Yeah, no, you did good.
Okay. I'm so bad with this. When I was in the military, I had name tags. So it was a lot.
Never said it wrong. I don't think this whole time.
Okay, yay. Okay. So we're gonna hear from CL now, just so we can get her in, and then we'll ask a couple more questions. Got a couple of my own here, so hopefully we'll get to mine. CL, I'm gonna pop you up here. You're gonna be by yourself, and I'm gonna mute us. So you are go ahead and take it away.
Well, this is Walker, who it's her first day in her afterlife high school that she has to go to. And, it's a new school. She's a senior, but she knows no one. So this is her first class, first day. Okay. The other kids look pretty normal and around my age, including one fine boned ballerina type with supermodel glossy blonde hair and lipstick that was red black. She wore what looked like a pale pink leotard with matching leggings and covered herself with an additional layer of a thin sweater and one of those dusky pink skater skirts. I heard someone call her Tosh, and she even smiled up at me, sort of warmly, before saying, "There's only one table left in the back of this class. You'll have to share it with Mr. Personality. Godspeed, newbie. Don't hold him against the rest of us." I had no idea what she meant, but wandered to the back of the classroom and plopped down at the table in the corner, which was empty. Eventually, I reached into my brand new leather backpack that had appeared last night during the move and was filled with every school supply anyone would ever want, from paper to a slim laptop and a new iPad. Again, I wondered where my mom had gone. Did she rob a bank to get all these school supplies? I even had a backpack that looked like it cost some serious change because it smelled like fresh cow flesh. There were about $2,000 of electronics in my possession. I was trying to figure out how much Mom spent in total in my head when I was jolted out of my self-imposed mental shopping trip by the class bell. The same moment, the sound echoed, a broad-shouldered student in a black leather jacket blasted into the class, which caused the cool girls to start whispering. Looking around the room, he obviously noticed that his formerly empty table in the back now had another occupant. "Damn," I heard him whisper under his breath as he walked closer. "Just what I needed, a squatter." Tossing his book into the wood, he didn't miss the new dark-haired girl jumping half out of her skin, but trying to look bored at the same time. Although I tried to calm myself down, he had to know I was petrified by the fact that my hazel eyes were as white as saucers. I didn't know then that he had been in my shoes several years earlier when he had arrived with his brother and sisters. Walker, I said, cutting to the chase and trying to look into his eyes, which were cast downward, so my gaze met the middle of his chest. Extending my hand felt foolish now, and I allowed it to plop from my side in defeat. For a few long seconds, he said absolutely nothing and stayed in the same position of epic rudeness. Then he slowly forced himself to look at me. The impact of it had me backing up a few centimeters. He was much more rugged than I would expect from any private school student, with a thin scar that ran across his chin to his lower lip and several light green tattoos sneaking out of sleeves that were haphazardly pushed aside. This wasn't your average high school senior. He looked too weary and too wise. If you told me he was a senior in college, I might have believed it. Daniel Reed, he finally said with freezing calm, running a hand through jet black hair that was shorter on the sides than on the top. The hair looked recklessly hand-combed off a masculine square face that was marked by about a day's worth of growth of facial stubble. You could barely see it, but the shadow was there, and it made him look older and dangerous. I figured he was about 6'3" or 4", serious arms and a lean fit frame that fit nicely into snug, faded Levi's. Obviously, he worked out. I could imagine the six-pack and the sinewy muscles that ran from his thighs down the side of his muscular legs. Almost blushing because I was a little too deep into the details of this total stranger, I decided to focus on the fact that he dumped his leather jacket in a heap on the floor, slammed down his stool, and once seated, stared straight ahead. "So how long have you been going to this school?" I whispered loudly, shifting nervously on my stool as if I wanted to dig a hole out of there. Obviously, I wasn't much of an expert when it came to small talk, and I could tell he preferred we didn't talk at all. "Forever," he said in a harsh tone as they stared at the side of his sculpted face. "I'm already liking the idea of just learning what you want," I blurted. "Yeah," he muttered and nodded numbly. "What about SAT prep?" I asked. "It's hard to believe that we really don't need to take college prep tests here. Whose leg are they pulling here? Not your leg. You're too tall." My thin attempt at a joke seemed to annoy him. "We don't do that here," Daniel snapped, pretending to be suddenly engrossed in the pen he was tapping loudly on the table. "What don't we do here? Joke around or take tests?" I demanded, and heard him swear under his breath. I wasn't done. "College applications?" I blurted again. When he looked up again and stared hard into my eyes, I was rendered speechless. It was almost as if he put one of those large hands gently across my mouth, but that wasn't the case because the wide palm and long fingers were planted firmly on his knees. I couldn't contain the rush I felt. It continued to sizzle under my skin for several impossibly long minutes. His eyes weren't just blue, they were a gray blue, a surprisingly soft, inviting, gauzy color, the kind you only find on the most perfectly cloudy day on the beach before a good rain. But there was nothing else inviting about Daniel Reed. "Do I look like the welcome wagon?" he practically hissed. I saw his eyes go from soft to almost metallic. When I looked honestly hurt, he shook his head, swore again, and continued to speak under his breath. "Screw college," Daniel said with a sigh. With those words, he had extended his friendliness quotient for the day. "Maybe the year. If you need to know any more, go talk to a counselor, for guidance or whatever girls like you need." Girls like me? Asswipe, I thought. So wait a second. No homework, no SATs, no college applications, I said, ignoring the obvious. His lack of social graces and that grim, hard mouth. In that moment, I knew his game. He wanted me to brand him as one big douche and get on with it, so I'd leave him alone. So I decided I'd have a little bit of fun with him. "I can't get over no homework," I repeated with a slight upturn of my bottom lip, trying to kill him with unwanted kindness. "Is this heaven?" I asked him with my most dazzling grin. I sealed it with a wink. And was that an actual flirt? I had little success with the opposite sex in Chicago, where I used to live, so I wasn't sure if I was dazzling at all, but I had to do it. Those broad, muscular shoulders pivoted in my direction, and those steel gray eyes seemed to drill through me. I'm not even sure why, but in that moment, I glanced over at the cheerleaders who were giving me stabbing looks for talking to, hands down, the most gorgeous man any of them had ever seen in their lives. He made David Beckham look like the ugly older brother. Obviously, the cheerleaders had their own dibs on him, and they weren't about to share, although he totally ignored the fact that they even existed. Is this hell, Danny?" I said, looking ahead at the rah-rah brigade, rolling my eyes and catching their disgusted looks. No way did they miss my eye roll. Pleased with myself, I turned my full attention to his annoyed gaze and those full lips. "No, this isn't heaven. This isn't hell. It's high school," Daniel said. He was frowning at it in a way that made it seem like he wanted to toss me out the nearby window. But I wasn't giving up, which was a trick I learned in my short career as a high school newspaper reporter. At first, if you don't succeed, just stay relentless. "By the way, it's not Danny, it's Daniel. And do you have a last name?" he asked. "Walker Callahan," I said with a genuine smile, offering my hand to him. He ignored it for the second time. Pay attention, Callahan learned something, Daniel said, pointing to the front blackboard. I tried to tear my eyes away from him, but somehow I was frozen in place. So he took it upon himself to rectify the situation, gently grabbing my chin with those big hands and slowly moving it in the direction of the front of the room, like he was guiding the big hand of a watch into place. Don't move. It'll be worth it, he said. At that moment, the teacher finally arrived, but he wasn't any educator that would have worked at Kennedy High School in Chicago. For starters, he had longish, dirty brown, unwashed hair that matched his ripped jeans and faded brown flannel shirt. Music Theory 101, said the teacher. What bullshit. You want to know something about music, he continued. Even I perked up and stared at him because he looked just so familiar, especially when he turned his back to us and started writing notes on the blackboard. When my hand flew to my mouth, Daniel turned his head ever so slightly, and I felt his stare down to my bone marrow. It was, no, it couldn't be. This teacher, no way. So I'm Kurt, he said. I used to have this band. And it is Kurt Cobain, you guys, because he's one of the famous teachers in Ascenders. And at this point, Walker has no clue that she's dead. She just thinks she's at a different high school. So that's when she meets Daniel Reed, her future immortal love interest. Sort of a jerk to begin with, but turns out to be a really good guy. So that is a little excerpt of Ascenders, which this is book 1. There's actually 5 books that are out right now. The 5th book just came out last year, and a new one for later this year, early next year.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. And I know Sarah and Nat Trash Panda. I know this.
2 of my favorites.
I love her. Yeah, she loves your book. This is her favorite book, apparently. So she came to hear you read it. That's
Nat
awesome.
did a report on my book for school, which meant so much to me and touched me so much. I think that's the coolest thing ever.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right. So do we have any more questions for my viewers here? I'm going to see. Okay. No, but I am going to show this from Sarah. Join us in Ascenders Nation. That's your group.
That's our join us. We'll send you book 1, an ebook right away.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Join us there. Maybe drop the link so that they can easily get there. If you would,
Cool.
Sarah, if you wouldn't mind, or did she? And then I'm just going to put this up there for Mercy, but Lee said, here's the link to Corsets and Quartets. So
Thank you,
you can
Lee.
find that here as well. Yep. Okay. And Sarah put the link in there. Okay. So viewers, if you have any questions, pop them up there. We only got about 5 to 8 minutes left, depending on which clock you look at on my phone or my computer.
Mercy, your book is amazing. I want to get your book.
I know both of your books sound amazing.
I love it all. I love it all. Ascenders sounds fantastic, Cindy. I can't wait to dig into that.
Yeah. So I did have some of my own questions. So, because I noticed that CL, you write in 3rd person, correct?
I do. Yeah.
And Mercy, you write in 1st person. All right.
I do.
I'm always curious, like what made you write in the way that you like in 1st person or 3rd person?
What do you think, Cindy?
You know, I actually the book I just wrote is written in 3rd person. Ascenders is written in 1st person from Walker's point of view, though. So it did. I always had heard and felt it too that it's more immediate for the main character to talk to you. So I wanted Walker, who's kind of me in high school, a high school journalist. I wanted it to be in person for Ascenders.
I agree. For me, 1st person stories feel more intimate, and that seems more logical to me, especially for romance. You want that intimacy of feeling like you're feeling what that character is feeling, especially when it comes to love and angst and all of those things. So I always tend to write in 1st person, and I like to read in 1st person, but honestly, I don't really notice. Sometimes if it's a good book, it's a good book, and I don't really care what POV it's written in.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you connect more with one POV versus another, though?
I connect more with first person, but like I said, I like the intimacy of really knowing what's going on there. You know,
Event.
they tend to say that fantasy works better in third POV for world building, but I do think that for a lot of the stuff that I read, I prefer to read in first POV.
Gotcha. So my next question is, how do you come up with your names? And I'm not talking about your pen name, Mercy, but the names for your character. I love how you come up with your pen name, though. For the name for your character, do you name them after your cats as well?
There are some. Rory is in one of my books. Yeah, actually, Jasper is in one of my books. I do name a lot of my characters. Sometimes I name it after other authors, and I just twist the name slightly. So if you think about it and you're in that genre, you might think, wait a minute, is she talking about? But otherwise, like so many people, lots of research online in the baby books and what are the popular names right now and what are the names in certain decades. Sometimes for older characters, I try to find something that's a little more authentic to the time period.
Yeah. Do you do research so when I do my historical name choosing, I like popular baby names in 1820, like when my character would have been born. And then I
So the
kind of go through there.
historical, like the one name I've already grabbed is like Crispin, which, you know, or St. John, or some of those names, which you tend to grab a lot from some of the historical romances. So definitely there, you want to be a little more accurate.
Yeah.
Do you make stuff up, Cindy, or do you do it based off of, do you twist celebrity names?
I just do it based on torture, you guys, because if I can't name for the two leads, I will literally torture myself. I'll go through lists and lists of names. I will torture my husband and even the dogs until I just come up with that name. So Walker Callahan, I knew I wanted him to call her Callahan throughout the whole thing. So that was a double whammy. It was like the last name had to be like something that sounded good for a guy to call you. So and Daniel Reed, my main character, the Reed part is after my nephew Reed. So which he's
Oh,
college now. He always blushes when I tell him that, but I think he kind of likes it.
The sci-fi book that I'm writing right now, I've changed the female character's name 3 times, and I couldn't get flow into the story until I finally got the name right. The man's name, I named him Harm or Harmon because I was
Like that.
watching The Queen's Gambit on Netflix, which I love that miniseries. And suddenly I was like, wait a minute, I like Harmon, but I like it for a man because I like the idea of calling an alpha male Harm as a nickname. So
mhm.
that was where I grabbed that name from.
Oh, that's interesting. That's cool.
I
What
think
is your most unique, CL? What is your most unique name, and how did you come about it?
well, when originally Walker was not Walker, she had a first name and her last name was Walker. And then one day I was just sitting there and I was like, Walker's a good first name for a girl. I've never really heard that. So that was, I think hers is kind of different. I never have ever still seen it on any lists of girls' names. So I like her name. I think I've a book that I'm writing about a school for time travel. And there's a girl in there named Memphis, and it just sort of fits her. So I really like that name too. I think it just sticks, like when it's perfect for your character. And
I
then
mean,
My Halloween book, I also, the 2 guys in my Halloween book are named Trick and Treat. So
oh,
Trick is
funny.
a derivative of Patrick, and Treat
right,
is a male name if you think of the actor Treat Williams. So I named them Trick and Treat
I love
for
it.
as slayers in my Halloween book.
Love it. That's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah, I'm writing a sequel to my romance novel, and the girl has 4 grown brothers. So I was like, wow, here we go, 4 nice hunky guy names I got to come up with.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, all right, we are at time here. So ladies, I told you it would go fast. I think at least it did for me. I don't know if it did for
Yeah,
you.
totally.
So why don't you guys tell us where they can join your groups or get your books, also what you're giving away. Anything else you want to kind of tell us before we go?
For me, please join Ascenders Nation. We have all kind of fun and giveaways. If you're a Kindle reader, I keep the Kindles of all the Ascenders books at like $1 or $2. So just to keep it cheap. And just join us and we'll have fun, and we have tons of graphics and giveaways and prizes. So hope to hear from everybody on Instagram or on Facebook.
Awesome.
And you can find me in the Merciverse. You can find me on BookBub. You can find me on Instagram. You will definitely see every Monday on Instagram we do Meow Monday, which is cat memes. Because again, the cats rule my life. And I play on TikTok. I'm pretty much everywhere that anybody wants to be. But if you're in the Merciverse, especially if you like corsets and quartets, I do put bonus scenes in there. And that's generally where I put out calls for ARC readers and betas and other things. So that's where you're going to get all of the fun stuff. But social media, wherever you are, I'm probably there in some format, some way, shape, and form. And I love to chat. So never feel funny about reaching out. You can find me on Amazon. You can find me in Kindle Unlimited. And don't forget, I'm giving away a paperback of Corsets and Quartets.
I love it. And I really,
she's a
really
thick
love that
one.
name.
Very cool
Yeah.
name.
Love
One
it.
more thing, at the LA Times Festival of Books next weekend in LA. Come by and say you watched this show, and we'll take a picture and put it on the Instagram.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. Well, we are at time. You can get their sign up to win their books or from, our Facebook page, our giveaway. Usually Dylan's here to like do the download, so I'm gonna
Dawn, you've done
a great job, Dawn.
Thank you.
Yay,
Yeah,
Dawn.
I'm all alone. Can't wait till Dylan's back with me. All right, so I just have one thing to like plug for myself here. I am doing the Super Mom contest, and I win. I win. It's a feature in Women's World magazine, so I'm hoping to win. They just did the top 20. I made the top 20, but this girl Sheila, I'm just gonna say, like, she keeps beating me out. So if you guys wouldn't mind like sharing and having them vote for me. She keeps beating me out because she's buying her votes, which I'm not gonna say that I didn't buy some vote or my husband didn't buy some votes too, but she just beat us out in like 3 seconds, got ahead. So it ends in June, mid-June, and I really need that vacation. So so to all you viewers, please, please, please go vote for me on the Super Mom. And then join us. Go do the giveaway for Mercy and Seal, and then join us in 2 weeks where Dylan will hopefully be back. And in the meantime, we will see you later. Thank you again, ladies, for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye.
ready.
Bye.